hello, hello, hello.
Hi.
How are we?
Cold.
I am.
I'm
Right.
so cold this past few days. I can't get warm at all.
We
Hot water bottle.
we've just hot water bottle. We've just had our wood burners installed, and not only is it very magical, the heat has
I
been
can
great.
imagine.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
ladies, we are back. We've had a little hiatus.
Yes, we have.
We have, but it's good to be back. It's good to see you both. Hi. We are down a Wyrde sister today. But she's great. Elisa's fine. She'll be on our next show. She is just doing her thing. And I think she's dealing with some biblical weather over in Spain. So she sends her apologies and loads of love, and we'll see her on the next show. Hi, Matt. Hi, my Kate. Hi. My best friend who lives in the States. So tonight our show is going to be about the Mandela effect, coincidence,
Hi, Matt.
and deja vu. But I just wanted to address why we have not been on the waves. We have been off. It's no secret that I am heavily involved in ufology, UAPisms, new word, and very much involved in CE5 and H.I.C.E, human initiated contact event / experience. And due to my work within those environments, and I use the word my work because it is part of my life's stuff, we get to interact with a whole plethora of interesting people and groups and organizations. And I'm always one to find ways to expand my consciousness, and sometimes that leads us down different paths. And unfortunately, I collided with what in my opinion, to be a bit of a contact cult. And things went a bit awry. And due to them going a bit awry and the fallout and way I was treated, as well as other people, I just needed time to step back and think about what had happened with that organization. So it's my fault. That's why we were off air, and the girls were very supportive. But certainly in the UFO world and the H.I.C.E world and the C5 world and the contact with them, we've got to use a bit of discernment and a bit of educated thinking. And unfortunately, the interaction I had with that organization just wasn't great. And yeah, so just needed a bit of time to breathe and pause and think. But there'll never be a time in my life that I'm ever going to abide by any organization advocating for children not to be fed with autism. As a mother of a child who has neurodivergent challenges, I'm not playing that game. So that gives you an insight as to what I was dealing with. But it's parked. We've moved on. But there we go. Rant over. So, Lucy Lou, Natty Nat, how are you?
Yeah, good. It's been busy few weeks, I think, since we've last been on. The weather has gone very cold. But the Christmas tree is up. We're feeling festive.
Yeah.
And I've got some exciting times ahead, hopefully, over the next few weeks. But yeah, it's all been good. But I have missed you, ladies.
Well, a little bird told me that you are also doing a little podcast yourself. So tell us, what are you up to?
Yes. So as part of my work that I do with UFO Identified and Pursuit of the Paranormal, which is a fabulous podcast by Ash and Greg. Yeah. Oh, there's Abs just joined us. So
Abs is in the chat.
Abs and myself are now as part of Pursuit of the Paranormal's podcast doing an episode a month on all things female in the world of strangeness and UFOs and ghosts and ghouls and everything in between. So our first episode went live a couple of days ago. We recorded our second episode. The lovely Holly's going to come on and do an episode with us. So it's all about empowering females and looking at some of the challenges that we have as females in the field, and how sometimes we can feel a little ostracized, because really the people that you see out there talking about ufology in particular, out there in the media and the mainframe, are on the whole men. So we thought it was about time that girls rule the world, and change that. I knew you were going to sing that, Hol. So the lovely Abs and myself, with the fabulous Ash as our producer, are doing a show called Women of the Dark, as part of Pursuit of the Paranormal's podcast. But I highly recommend everybody tunes in to Pursuit of the Paranormal, which is a amazing
Fabulous.
podcast.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, that you can get on any streaming platform. But they cover...
not freaking hell, are they paying you? I don't know.
No, I just love them.
No, I love them too. They're great guys.
And they cover such cool things and interview such cool people with crazy ass stories and amazing tales, which is what draws me to this subject, really, the experiences of other people. So yeah, big shout out to our Women of the Dark.
Love that. And we will of course promote and push that on our channels too. I was on a show last night with Paramike. Who knows Greg? We all just know each other, don't we? We're all just
we do.
And it's, you know, it's I call him Para G, but that's a private joke between me and Greg, actually. But you know, that's what I love about this community, that we all do kind of know each other in a weird way. And Lucy M, I believe you've got some interesting news in your life as well with your business.
Yes, I'm not going to talk about that on air yet.
Okay.
There's some things I need to do. People I need to inform before I put it on the internet. But yeah, but definitely like lots of things moving forward. I was actually thinking as you were saying all that about exciting stuff coming. Has anybody noticed like energetically a lot more synchronicities coming up?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm really noticing them, like just a lot more, you know, things coming up. And also I'm finding my trust in them has really grown, like since like November even, like a big kind of, you know, a synchronicity comes up and I'm immediately like, what was I just thinking? You know, what's happening right now? Like really kind of trying to grant what's this for? I'm finding that I'm only needing one message to do something, you know, whereas before I might have to wait. As go, is the universe trying to tell me something? I'll just wait for another sign and see. Now I'm like, okay, thank you, guidance. I'll move on to that thing then. You know, it's a real definite kind of like a change, I think. There's been like a big deep dive during Scorpio season, and a lot of people have kind of, I know I've had like a whole thing where everything's kind of twisted around, and all of a sudden I've emerged and I'm like, right, upgrades, and now I'm moving, you know, again.
I love that.
Yeah, but that's the biggest thing I think, is synchronicities really popping up in different places.
Yeah.
And you're probably the third or fourth person who's touched on that with me in the past couple of days. So ooh, it's all connected. Hi to everyone in the chat. We've got Abigail, we've got Matt, we've got Joanne, we've got Kate. Hi Karen. Hi. So we are going to delve into the Mandela effect, and it's an interesting one, because how it collided with me was, I always believed, I was chatting to someone about Sex in the City, because when I was a young girl, it was the only kind of program, not young, but my mum would kind of watch it as well, and it was a bit like, and it was very glamorous and all the things that I really enjoy. But it was like mine and my mum's thing. She wasn't very girly. She wasn't like into shoes and clothes and hair and all the things I'm into. She was like, you know, mud and putting spells on people, you know. And I remember saying, oh, I just love Sex in the City. And my friend in London went, it's Sex and the City. And I was like, wow, it's Sex in the City. And she was adamant.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, I know I've partied really hard through my 20s, but what the heck? And I remember speaking about it with someone else, and they said, oh, yeah, it's a Mandela effect. And I was like, what? Who? Nelson Mandela, what? And I remember rushing, and I didn't even know if it was Google. I think I looked at something else. But just to define what the Mandela effect is, so I've got it right. Okay. It was named by paranormal researcher, a lady called Fiona Broom. The Mandela effect is defined as an instance when you remember something that doesn't match historical records. So I think it was something to do with she believed that Mandela had died.
Yeah.
She remembered seeing his funeral on the television, and actually he was still in prison. So she'd obviously coined that phrase and ran with it. And I think she built a whole website, and it was like a big thing a couple of years ago. And I find every few years it like makes a resurgence again. And it popped up back into my reality quite recently. My son is obsessed, as you know, Nat, because you've seen the Lego all around my house. He's
I
obsessed
have.
with Star Wars. And that what's it called? That robot thing. The one with the
C3PO? The gold
C3PO.
one?
Or
He's got a
R2D2.
silver leg. He's not all gold.
No
What?
way.
No, he's all gold.
No. Oh, no. No.
Oh,
No.
stop
No.
that.
This is a Mandela effect. And hang on, he said, yeah, hang on, let me find it, because I just thought I need to double check this. Let me find it. Oh, I should have had it up.
Because there was, while you're looking, there was like a bit in when they were on the space station with Lando Calrissian, whatever his name was, where there was another robot like C3PO but silver. I do remember there wasn't, or maybe in bits or something. It's a while since I've seen the films. But I would, in my reality, C3PO is always definitely completely gold.
No,
Yeah.
he's not. I'm finding it now. I had it up earlier.
He's always gold in my head.
Old Mandela effect. And he's got a silver leg.
No way.
No, he hasn't.
Hang on. Popular
no.
comic. This is what happens with the Mandela effect. Your whole head goes.
Yeah.
Abs is just put in the chat.
You remember it, don't you?
You do? I'm bringing it up now. C3PO has one silver leg.
No, he doesn't.
He has a silver leg. I'm trying to get a picture up.
Kate's put in the chat that it's a silver leg. I don't remember him being silver anywhere.
He's got one little dodgy silver leg.
No.
I'm
particularly not having it because I tend to be quite observant for details like that. So I feel like if I had watched the films, I feel like I would have noticed that he had one silver leg, particularly something like that. That would have stood out to me, I think. So I'm willing to accept the Mandela effect around it, but yeah.
Oh, someone's just put in the chat. In the first film, it was a silver leg, but then it goes rusted in places, and in the next film, it's gold.
Oh, okay. So that one freaked me out. And equally, as we're going on the Star Wars dive, what's the famous line with Darth Vader and Luke? Luke, I'm your father.
I am your father, yeah.
No!
Oh, come on.
No, it's not. So we actually have been trying to watch this one.
Yeah, I think I picked that up in my research about that, actually. And I thought, I don't remember that.
Go on. What did he say then?
Okay.
He says, Vader, no, I am your father.
Yeah.
No.
It's true.
Definitely not.
For decades, people have misconstructed the pivotal line of dialogue between Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker in The Empire Strikes Back. In the Star Wars film, The Empire Strikes Back, Darth Vader says, Luke, I am your father. But But that's not what Darth Vader actually says. He says, so the actual dialogue is, Darth Vader, if you only knew the power of the dark side, Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father. Skywalker, he told me enough. He told me you killed him. Vader, no, I am your father.
I mean, that makes more sense in terms of the conversation than Luke, I am your father, but I definitely remember it being Luke. That's
in my research, the good old phrase that we all know from Casablanca, play it against Sam, was not play it against Sam. It just said, play it, Sam.
But what is it? What is the Mandela effect? No.
Yeah, but what causes that? This is my whole thing about it. It's like you can find tons of them, and there's too many to kind of just go, oh, that's just people not paying attention. Because you can go back and check things and, you know, rewatch things and watch films over and over. It's literally a different remembering. It's not getting it wrong. It's just you've remembered something and now it's not that. Well, so what's happening there? Is that like
there's two trains of thought on what it is. One is that there is a parallel universe thing going on, and it kind of blurs that line, and we remember it very differently from that point of view. And I think we could probably bring your sort of mathematical brain into that, because a lot of it's based on string theory and stuff like that, which I don't purport to really understand. But the other side of it is to do with how we remember and false memory, and how memory decays over time. And we all know that memory does decay over time. Certainly, I forget things within 5 minutes, etc. And it's to do with how suggestible things are to people. Because the other one that I learned about was Forrest Gump. Life is like a box of chocolates, which wasn't apparently life is like a box of chocolates, and I would have gone and put money on that. So we have those two very opposing views of, is it a funny shift in parallel time, or is it just that we are having this mass misremembering, mass hysteria thingamajig going on that we don't remember correctly?
Do you want my
mass hysteria is an interesting one as well, and like memory implantation as well is something that can definitely be done, but you have to look at some of the Mandela effect stuff and go, why would anybody bother? You know, if it was something external, or if it was something that just everyone did. But it's just weird how huge swathes of people will misremember, as it were. You know, it feels like there would have to be a specific event causing that misremembering, and it's like, what would that be? You know, and why would it happen?
I've solved it.
Oh, great.
Oh, okay.
I'm ready.
Hold on to your knickers.
Go on.
Ready? I think CERN has created some kind of time distortion, and we've just gone into a parallel universe, because that is the only explanation that I can possibly comprehend. So solved it. Done.
Great. Well, do you know, I actually think that segues nicely into deja vu as well, because I have my whole thing on that. I was thinking about like deja vu and that kind of stuff, and the way that most of mine have come from, I haven't had as many recently, but when I was younger, I used to have quite a lot where I would have dreamt the event, and not just like, oh, I feel like I've dreamt this now, it's happening, but like I can remember one specifically where I'd had this dream, and it was just a really strange one. And I remember like kind of thinking about it. I was about 11, and then it happened. It was in school, and then like literally I kind of sat there in the classroom like, I know what everyone's about to say because this is my dream. It was like the weirdest moment I'd ever had. So I was thinking about that today, thinking, well, is it a case of, like we were saying pre-show, time's an illusion? Is it where things break through, and you're getting a glimpse of something coming in the future? Because that, especially coming through dream time, I think there's a very interesting thing. I think things can get through in dream time, like little glimpses of the future or the past or a previous life maybe, or, you know, that kind of stuff. So is this something, I'm not being very coherent, but sort of like an issue with time, is that where it's coming from with deja vu? And does that link through then to that theory about CERN maybe being involved in Mandela effect? It's like, it's quite interesting.
Liz is in the chat. Hi, Liz. Hi, Science Bob. Hey.
Hi,
Hi,
Liz.
Debs. Hi, Hopes. Hi, Ash. Hi. Liz, who's been on our show before, me and her spoke about this at like silly o'clock in the morning about because we'd gone on the whole like the Mandela effect glitch in the Matrix is CERN. It's turned on its particle collider. They've messed with the timeline. And by the way, disclaimer, like, you know, we don't know the truth. We're just trying to find our way through it, just so no one gets us. Did anyone see the opening ceremony of CERN and the rituals and the very pagan-esque kind of event that they did beforehand? Did anyone see the pictures of that?
Yeah, it was a mad thing to do for a scientific endeavor. It's like that doesn't seem to fit to me.
I'm going to bring it up because it was actually Liz that got me onto it, and because I was like, no,
Oh, it's mad.
I
It's
was
like
like,
if
no,
you think the Olympics opening
How
ceremony
bizarre.
was weird, it's like nothing to CERN.
it is.
You would expect it to be very practical and science-based, wouldn't you?
Well, you wouldn't even think they'd need a ceremony to,
Well, no,
for a scientific.
not
It'd just be
really.
like, okay, we're all here, let's get on with it,
Yeah.
It was absolutely bananas. They were all dancing around to some statues. It was very pagan-esque. I'm just trying to bring it up, but I remember when Liz put me onto it, I was like
writhing around and totally bizarre. It was like red fabrics.
red, and there was fire involved, and it was just
it was mad.
It was mad,
Wow.
mad. I'm just trying to bring up something that doesn't throw up a YouTube. It featured goats, yodels. Like, it was absolutely
lots
crazy.
of guys in the chat are saying that they think CERN's a lot to do with it. So that seems to be quite a common
just trying to bring up
the listeners.
But I remember when Liz and I were chatting about it, and I was like, it's like, I'm very open-minded, love a conspiracy. But when I started Googling it, I was like, has everyone else had access to these pictures? Because what the flip? Because let me bring it up. I've got to find it because it was
Liz is saying the closing ceremony too was odd.
Closing ceremony. There's a great YouTube on it, closing ceremony of CERN. But they use a lot of
why have one?
Yeah, that's it. Why have an opening and closing ceremony for a scientific endeavor? That just is like, well, is this a ritual then? Because that's what it says to me. It's ceremonies, isn't it? And it's like, say, has everyone had access to this? Yeah, it's out there, it's public knowledge, and yet people don't seem to notice it. It sometimes amazes me the stuff that they put out there.
They've got,
and everyone can see it.
There's wasn't there a massive statue outside it? Hang on.
Yeah, like some kind of like ridiculous.
It looked like Shiva or something.
Yeah. Like,
oh my
what
God.
the hell?
Fake human sacrifice filmed at CERN with pranking scientists suspected. Spokeswoman at High Temple of Particle Physics suggests scientific users of the Geneva facility let their humour go too far with staging it of an occult rite. And that's what it looked like. It looked like, as someone who's versed in the dark, not the dark arts, the unseen art, and I've been very much brought up around the occult and the esoteric. The things they did at that open and closing ceremony, and I'm sure Liz will agree, they were right. They were ritualistic rites and that were designed to do something. So in with magic and rites, it's cause and effect. You put something into the universe to get an effect or affect. So what the heck, at one of the most prestigious scientific facilities in the world, doing groundbreaking work? What the fuck? I'm telling you.
I mean, that also, when you see things like that, it also kind of makes me start to think, well, what is science then in that case? Because if they're treating it like this, they're treating it like a religion, aren't they? Like, and that to me is not what scientific endeavor is. But it kind of raises questions about, so how are we treating it? Because I think, without wishing to get too far into anything that might get us censored, there have been certain events over the past few years where you are not permitted to question the science. You know, it's a case of the science god in the white coat tells you, you know, the science priest tells you what the truth is, and you just go, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only correct answer. You know, whereas to me, science is it's always to be questioned, because that's how
science.
it works. You have a
That's
theory and you
science.
question
Yeah,
it. You try and
Mm-hmm.
when I was taught scientific method, it was you come up with a hypothesis and then you try and disprove it. You don't try and prove it, you try and knock that out.
Mm-hmm.
You do everything you can to disprove it before you'll accept that maybe it's currently our working theory. You know, but it always remains a theory, because you can't ever properly prove most things. Whereas that doesn't seem to have been how it is. And things like that CERN opening ceremony is like, yeah, we're literally placing science at the level of religion here. You know, it's at the, like you say, the most prestigious scientific institution.
Yeah.
It's like, that is a weird choice.
Well, this is a prestigious place in the world. You can't just I couldn't just turn up and go, all right, Dave, let me in. You know, I'm Holly. I want to see it. You can't get into that facility unless you work there. You will have ID badge. You're invited there. It's just not given the gravity of what it is and the machinery and the complexity of what they're researching there. You know, Joe from number 47 can't just rock up and let me have a look at your machines or what have you. And this article that's in the Guardian, and it speaks about this fake human sacrifice filmed at CERN. Now, I've seen this video, and I'll bob it on the Wyrde Sisters Facebook page. I've seen it, and it's a full-on ritual. How did they get in? How did they get into that facility? Are you telling me they scaled a wall? All of
No.
these people, they're all in hooded robes. It's full on, like, yeah. I'll send it to you privately, and I'll stick it on our page. These scenes.
That wasn't something on the spur of the moment. It wasn't a
No,
prank
it
on
was
the
a
spur
full
of the moment.
planned out thing.
Yeah.
These scenes were filmed on our premises, but without official permission or knowledge, a CERN spokeswoman told Agent France Presse in an email. CERN does not condone, this is quoted, CERN does not condone this type of spoof, which can give rise to misunderstandings about the scientific nature of our work. An investigation is underway and was an internal matter. The video raised questions, thank the gods and goddesses, about security on the campus. Asked to detail the security procedures surrounding access to the campus, the spokeswoman said CERN IDs are checked systematically at each entry to the CERN site, whether it's night or day. So they just give each other a leg up over the fence. It's not heavily guarded with cameras.
Could you imagine doing that in Area 51 or the likes of? You'd be shot dead.
But what it was, the video, which has circulated in the world, shows several individuals in black cloaks gathering in the main square, which probably is cameraed up to death. In the main square, in what appears to be a reenactment of an occult ceremony. The video includes the stage stabbing of a woman. It is filmed from the perspective of a secret viewer watching from a window above, who, as the ceremony reaches its climax, lets out a string of expletives and flees with the camera running. The ceremony appears to be staged in front of the statue of Hindu deity Shiva that is on permanent display at the complex. Now, Shiva is, as we know, is the creator and the destroyer of the worlds. So what's she doing there?
Interesting.
Frankly, just raises more and more questions, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Every time they try and explain it, it's perfectly simple. It was, they accidentally, they just got in without our knowledge. I'm sorry, without your knowledge?
Come on.
Yeah.
So they just jumped over a fence. They all threw a few cloaks on, and they all bounced around with a bit of fire.
And all this time, because it's not quick. In all this time, nobody went up and said, "Excuse me, how did you get in here? What are you doing?"
No. Yeah, exactly. What are you doing in your room?
If somebody had like gone into, I mean, I think of it as well. Even you don't even have to be that high up. Something even like just a school. If someone kind of got into a school where you have to have ID and that kind of stuff, and started performing some kind of weird rite with cloaks, there would be security guards coming up going, "Excuse me, how did you get in here? You need to leave." Within minutes. And they're not as they don't have tons of cameras in the playgrounds necessarily. you know, so somebody would spot them. It's like in an actual place where there are tons of people, somebody would spot them and people would be like, what's happening there? So the idea that this was done totally without their knowledge or consent is, I mean, frankly, it's laughable, really, isn't it?
Mm.
It's laughable.
Even if they were doing it as a joke, let's, you know, for the sake of argument.
For people, they would have known. For people who study the occult, who study the unseen, who study the old ways, who are esoteric, all of those things, we, people of that ilk, would see that and we would draw conclusions from that, given our knowledge, our education, our upbringing within it, our knowledge base, what have you. So it was done for a purpose. Was it to send a message? Are we starting to mix science and magic together? Are we making it ritualistic? Are we playing with energetic energy and energetical things that the everyday man won't acknowledge or believe exists? Like, it's a proper trip. But ultimately, I think, and obviously I can't confirm this, but I think something very, very, very dodgy. I don't think dodgy is the right word. I think something very peculiar. That's not even the right word. I think something metaphysical. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Is
getting there.
Yeah, I'm getting there. Slowly, slowly, slowly. I think what we think CERN is and what its actual function may be is not. The girls are saying, Liz and both abs are saying in the chat, sinister. There's something
sinister.
Oh, nefarious. Deb says nefarious. I like that word.
I do like that word. I need to use it more in everyday conversation, really.
Yeah.
It's wild, isn't it? And you know, unless we have these type of conversations, the everyday Joe and Sally wouldn't even comprehend that this stuff's going on. So doesn't get questioned, and we blindly follow everything. And I think it's so interesting that I'm starting to notice now, and maybe it's because I'm involved in you know, the phenomenon, the wider phenomenon through my work within H.I.C.E and stuff. I'm starting to see a small, ever increasing shift of human beings not waking up, because I don't like that phrase, but I'm starting to see more and more people going, oh, but there seems to be more questions than ever before. Are you experiencing that in your daily lives? Are you noticing that there's more propensity for people to go, actually, that doesn't make sense, or why? Why are we living this way when we needn't? Why are we herded into cities and told that there's nowhere to live around the world when really we've got, you know, there's all these different strands of stuff that I think people now, I'm starting to see it. I'm starting to see more and more people be more interested in the work that I do, or maybe willing to have a conversation, whereas 5 years ago, pre the time we don't mention, there's more propensity of question, if that's the right phrase. What do you think, Lisa?
Yeah, I totally agree. Any kind of energetics, the unseen, people are suddenly they're looking for that, I think. Because I noticed as well, like a few years ago, like you say, 5 years ago or so, I probably wouldn't have gone out on the internet and gone, yeah, I'm a witch, you know. I would put those things around because I just wouldn't want to deal with people's sort of thoughts on that. But I just throw it around the place now because people are actually really interested. I actually do that now as a come and ask me questions kind of a thing. Or I'll, you know, people ask me, well, what is energy healing? And I'll talk to them about it. And people will come and ask me about that kind of thing. And well, how does this work? What about that? But like you say, even just things like questioning the narratives that we're kind of fed, I do feel a lot more people are doing that as well. Just that kind of like, even if it's only in their own head, but you can kind of sense as well, people going, well, this doesn't make any sense if that's true, you know, and that kind of thing. And you can see a lot more than it has, like you say, the last 5 years or so.
Agree.
People really are. There's been like an acceleration, I think, in that questing into that sort of area.
Hi, Bob in the chat. I wish it was Bob Marley. Imagine. Hi, thank you for joining. You know what, Lucy, though? It's interesting you say that you're more willing to be forthcoming about your practices and what you do. I too, as someone who's had a, you know, glittering career, has been very career driven, probably put career before myself and my own health for many, many years. I'm now in a position where I feel not only can I talk about the weird stuff I get up to, but I find people are more like, oh, the question has changed from ugh to interest. How about you, Nat? How are you finding that sort of that narrative that the whole
Yeah,
the
I
different
would say there's definitely more people who are willing to. I think of it as like the analogy of a little tortoise. So there are
that's me being
there
a
are
toy
more
face.
people who are poking their little head out and having a look round and going, okay, what's this about? But for me, they then retreat back and go back into that shell because that's comfy, that's easy, that's protected,
Mm.
and safer in a way, that they don't have to sort of contemplate the fact that things might be a bit different. So yeah, I would agree that people are not quite a bit more inquisitive, I suppose, is the word, but I think they're still not willing to stick their head out long term. I think from the experience I have, most of you out there know that I'm back on the dating scene at the moment, so it's something that
I'm the
because
vetting. I'm vetting, just to be clear.
okay,
I've taken over a vetting role. I was going to say a veterinary role, but that's not the right word.
but
I'm part of the vetting crew, just for any potential suitors out there.
because I'm out there and doing all these shows and different things, one of the first things that I will always tell somebody really when I meet them is that I do these things that are perhaps perceived as a little bit different than everyone else. And I think I've only had 2 guys who've immediately just like Twitter blocked me. Not Twitter blocked me, Tinder blocked me, gone,
Wow.
The rest of the people seem to be, okay, well, that's interesting. Tell me a little bit about that. And even those who don't have that same opinion as me are willing to go to listen and go, well, that's really okay, but I don't see it that way. So you're able to have a bit more of a dialogue about it. But I think it's people still feel safer to retreat back rather than push through with those questions that perhaps you, me and Lucy would not take no for an answer with.
I think we are certainly in an environment where the conversation of being a bit different and having differences and being an individual with your own views and thoughts, and I think it's cool to be a little bit different now.
Yeah,
And
hell,
if I've not got a crystal down my top, well, it's not I'm not me, and I enjoy that role that I can play in people's lives when, you know, for example, if someone's sick, I know that I can call Liz or Lucy or yourself, because you've all got different views from a perspective, treating things herbally, treating things medically. But I know that I've got a collective of wise women around me that can counsel me, can console me, can provide me with a knowledge base that perhaps I don't possess. And I think, the weirdos attract the weirdos, and I'm happy being a fabulous weirdo. But I do think that there's more and more of us. But what is the head trip is how are we all seem to gravitate to each other. And why do you think that is? Why are we finding each other? How are we finding our groups? I would just like to just interject one of my favorite people in the whole wide world. My Olivia is watching. Hello, darling. Anyway,
Maybe
so
it
how
is just
are
we're
us
all
weirdos finding each other? Because we're all into different stuff. The wider phenomenon. I'm into some stuff. Lucy, you're into some stuff. Nat, you're into stuff. Elisa's into other stuff. Liz, we've all got different elements. You know, we can talk about the Mandela effect. We can talk about witchcraft. We can talk about ETs. We can talk about, you know, paranormal activity. We can talk about fairies at the bottom of the garden. But ultimately, there's something in this human collective consciousness of ours. I am going somewhere with this, that draws us together. What is that draw? What draws us all? How are we all finding each other? I don't believe it's just social media anymore. I believe there's something else.
It's the energy, I think.
Bam!
I think we're putting it out there a lot more.
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but the way that it's happening, the more I am myself, the more that I put that on as my everyday face, the more I find the people who are drawn to that energy. And it's usually ace people, to be honest, like yourselves. But that's so once I learned that, I'm trying to do that even more. I want that out there, you know, because those are the people I want to draw in. So I think it's maybe as part of this either ascension process or, you know, development that we're all going through, perhaps that we are all, to an extent, doing that, allowing our energy to really kind of radiate out, and sort of being like, yeah, this is, I'm staking this down, that this is who I am. I'm allowing this to just be me, and I'm not hiding it in any way. Because I think you can energetically hide yourself as well as, you know, like camouflage. I think there can be an instinct for any energy workers to kind of camouflage yourself a bit, and I think there's less of that. There's a perhaps an understanding that this kind of work is needed, and so we have to go and do it. That's what we're here for. And as a consequence, we're bumping into those other people that we need to help us help more people to go out and move that energy around. That's my theory. I think that's how it works.
I agree with you on so many levels. You know, I make no secret now. I'm an experiencer. I am. That's it. You know, I wouldn't have discussed this a couple of years ago. I just wouldn't have, because it was weird and it was odd, and you know, I wasn't fully aware of what had really transpired and what had happened. And I was so very fortunate to meet Whitley Strieber, I think I say it wrong, at an event in earlier this year, around ufology, the phenomenon. And he, I've read his book Communion, and when I read it, it was a great read and it was great. And but hearing him unpack his stuff,
yeah,
did something to me, to the point I had to leave the room, because I had an emotional, significant emotive reaction that I couldn't control. And my point is that I find myself in these environments and chatting to these people and having these interactions, and I think it's purely based upon a frequency. And I'm starting to see, and you know, persecute me, you know, I won't die on the sword for it. I'm starting to see a sort of them and an us situation of people. And there's people that are energetically vibing in a certain way that we are, but just sort of without trying, we're kind of doing that. Well, look how me and you met, Nat.
yeah,
We've met purely through our different viewpoints in a sense of the greater phenomenon, but that's how we've met and become so close. And
yeah,
it's like this frequency and this energy that might be propelling Mandela effects, might be propelling deja vu, might be
yeah.
propelling coincidences. Is it consciousness? Oh, this is a deep one.
But just look what happens when we get together as groups of people. So when we think about how when we get together as a group of C5 to go out and have that collective conscious experience, look at what happens when that energy vibes together and we channel it in the same way. Something happens, something shifts, something changes. So it just goes to show that that energy focus is what drives things.
Wild, isn't it? And there's so much conversation at the moment. I think it was, I've just turned everything back to aliens as usual. Was it Tom DeLonge that said that, you know, humans were just conduits of energy. And I think I know we're waiting for this report to come out, and it doesn't really change my view, but I'm really starting to think now all of this consciousness, the phenomena, the energy, the frequency. I feel that we're at a tipping point of understanding what human beings what we actually may be. Where is our position in the grander scheme? And
Yeah.
that's when my head goes because we can look at coincidences. I'm on this big one. I listened to, and I was sharing it with Lucy before we came on air. Dr. Sharon Hewitt Rawlett. She spoke at friends of mine, James and Jay, Acquiring into the Anomalous in New York, an event last weekend or the weekend before. I'm so blessed. I'm actually heading out to New York for the next one. And she spoke about sort of consciousness and coincidences and how it all sits. And I can't even, I wouldn't do it justice if I tried to explain. But the way she put it into words and brought it to life ultimately made my head go. It, it expanded my mindset so much that for the 24 hours after the conversation, I couldn't stop thinking about where are humans within the greater scheme of it all. God, I've got very deep for a Bummer Friday, aren't I? I'm going to go back to wanting me pepperoni pizza. But ultimately, is it energy? Is it frequency? What is it? What could it be? Lucy, what could it be?
Well, I think it's both those things, isn't it? Very much so. I mean, everything comes back to energy for me, but frequency as well, or like vibrational energy for me. And to go back to what Nat was saying about when we get together, something shifts. I think I can feel my vibration rising when I'm with sort of like-minded people like that, and with people who have that kind of energy vibration, who are careful with their words and understand the power words have, and are honest with themselves and committed to healing and improving, in every way. And then, you get together and you just, you all kind of vibe together and you raise each other's vibration because you're all kind of on that path. And it's very beautiful, I think.
It is a beautiful path. What was that
Yeah.
phrase that Joy, who we collided with earlier on this Wyrde Sister journey, what was the phrase she used? We're all just walking each other home.
Oh, that is
lovely. I don't remember her saying that.
I think she did. Well,
maybe I was on the different Mandela effect train on that. Whoops.
That's it. What's just happened?
As I said that, the whole camera went.
Bam. But how beautiful is that? We're all just walking each other home.
Yeah.
Oh. And
that's nice.
It's beautiful, isn't it? And when we've been at like C5 meets, or when we've got together just socially, feeling it's like, what is it? Your vibe attracts your tribe. Maybe there is something to that. There is something to what you're putting out to put in. When we sort of touched on deja vu, it automatically took me back to the film The Matrix. We're all kind of ish around the same age-ish. Can you remember watching that film and what it did to you?
Oh yeah.
I've not got over it. I can't watch it now because when I watch it, I go, "Is this a documentary?"
Yeah.
Because
and yet there's so many amazing metaphors in it as well.
But is it a documentary? There's a whole. It's certainly in sort of a lot of conversations I have in the UFO world about the whole simulation theory. Like, could be. Oh God, I'm going to be like that later. Oh no, I've done it again. But it could be though, couldn't it? All of this could be.
Like we went back because they very specifically say, "Oh, deja vu, seen the cat twice."
The cat.
It's a glitch in the Matrix. It happens when they change something, and that circles us back to CERN. What have they changed? what it's done for, what has happened, whatever it is actually for, what was done, has something been done, and then this is like, it's not an intended side effect, it's just like a glitch. Because like I was saying earlier, all of these things that we misremember, they're not big things generally.
No,
You know,
they're not
they're
like
mostly just like stupid little things, like the color of a robot's leg in a science fiction film. You know, it's like, it's not.
it's not life
So
changing, is it? It's not like,
yeah,
oh my God, I need my kids and I'm going to run to the hills changing.
yeah. So whatever. Oh no, that's so. Yeah, but whatever the thing that's being changed is, essentially, I would say it's not the thing that we notice there, if that makes sense. You know, assuming that, you know, say CERN or whatever it is something that's being used for a purpose, whatever that purpose is, I think that's, we don't see that, but we'll see the little symbols that, you know, little signs that it's been done. So I don't know what it is, but it feels like that is a theory that would fit the known facts.
In doing some research for this particular episode, I didn't realise that there's as many glitches in the matrix actually now being captured on video as there are when you start looking into it, and they're extremely weird to watch. How
did you see the one in China where it looks like there's a whole city in the clouds? Have you seen it? It looks like it's like a city, buildings, skyscrapers, shebang, the full lot is in the clouds, and people are going, "Oh my God, what the flip, rah!" And then it's gone, and it's like, what? Did you find any glitches?
There was loads of really weird examples of it where like people are still moving along a road, you know, but be like an innocuous video of something and nothing, and then half the people will stop and half the people will carry on, and then the people who've stopped then suddenly, say 10 seconds later, will start moving again and move as if they've never stopped. And there's loads of examples out there on YouTube and various different channels that show these really odd. And even if you say, yes, some of them are maybe, you know, hoaxes and all the rest of it, there are so many out there that you think they can't all be. And some of it, I mean, you can't stop animals. Do you know what I mean? You could potentially say that you've got you know, you could stop people and they could all freeze for a minute and they could pretend that, but you couldn't do that with a herd of sheep. You know, how do you stop that? There's just so many of them out there, and it freaked me out a bit more actually, physically watching them and seeing them actually recorded.
Look at this one. Can you see this on screen, girls?
Yeah.
These are just obviously just fun ones that we found, but look at that. And it takes you back to the whole, like, look at that. Whoa. Look at that.
I can't make out what's on that one.
So it's they're in the same.
Oh, I can see them. Yeah, they're the same colour.
Same colour.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, they're a glitch in the Matrix if ever you've seen one.
Whoa. It's crazy. But is this, and I'm going to get like proper weirdo now, is this the consciousness which resides outside of space and time? It's part of the fabric of the universe. Is this the cosmic intelligence trying to interact with us, and we're just not picking up the signal? We're just living our human existence because our pineal glands are calcified, our basal ganglia aren't enlarged enough anymore, we've forgotten our ancient wisdom, we're just scrolling on our phones, drinking that Diet Coke, you know, we're just living our life like a Diet Coke, Coca-Cola. Are we not listening to what we're being shown by the collective, or sorry, cosmic intelligence? I shouldn't drink wine before these, should I?
No.
But is it? Is it the universe's way? And I've said this about UFOs in craft. Is it consciousness itself saying, "Hi, here"?
I could believe that.
It's all possible.
Pay attention, lads. It's
Yeah.
like synchronicities, like I was saying before. It's, you know, little signs in the universe trying to tell you something. So it could possibly be. And
You've
I don't
got
know,
to be
it's
awake to
necessarily
that.
that we're not listening and it's doing it because we're not listening, but maybe it's
Liz has
you
just
notice
put in
them
the
if you're
chat.
paying attention. Sorry,
But
what?
I don't think we are paying attention, and it goes back to that. You know, as humans are going through this evolution, and we are going through ascension, or we are, you know, whatever's happening. Are those of us who are noticing? Are we more sensitive, or are we just noticing more? Liz has just put in the chat. Regarding the city sky thing. They blame China. They blame China on water reflection in the clouds. Can't recall the tech phrase, but it didn't match the city skyline and appearance below. So what was seen in the actual city, what was being projected, it was kind of like a projection. And you know, there was people literally in the streets with their phone going, "Oh my God, what's going on?" And you know, that a lot of that didn't make that into our media. We didn't see
No.
it on the 10 o'clock news. It wasn't in our newspapers. And, you know, equally, we don't see stuff about disclosure in our papers. You know, members of my own family, friends of mine think I'm absolutely bonkers because I fully subscribe to the fact that ETs, craft, aliens, UAPs, UFOs are here. They've been visiting us for a very long time, and
Yeah.
they've been here since the dawn of time, and they're here.
Yeah.
People are like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
She's off with that alien stuff again. But
I think it
exactly
circles
what I
back.
guess.
Yeah,
but
I
the
think it
US
circles
government have
back to
confirmed.
with you saying before the whole CERN opening ceremony. That's available. You don't have to do anything other than type CERN opening ceremony into YouTube, and it will come up, and you can see it.
Mhm.
And yet, hardly anyone actually knows that that's about. And I think it does come back to what we are shown is carefully curated, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is
So for the
carefully
average person,
curated.
if you're not going out and going, okay, there's something strange here, what is it, and looking for it, you don't have to look very hard, but you literally just have to look, and then it's there. And I find it very interesting on a few different levels that it is so easy to find, that it is in plain sight. You know,
Hidden.
it's like placed off to the side, but it's right there. It's
Just
not
there,
hidden.
isn't it? It's
Yeah.
just kind of, it's just there on the peripheral. If you
Yeah.
look enough, you can capture it. But for mainstream people, it it's there. People would rather, you know, lose their shit that Pete Davidson and Kim Kardashian had a thing. And I'm
Yeah.
over here going,
Yeah. All the things
loads
that
of
are right
people
there
going missing. There's
are
shitloads of
crazy.
people going missing, like, all the time, and, like, some bad stuff's been happening, and, like, you know, something genetic going on, and people are like, "Yeah, but, you know, Pete Davidson's got BDA, honey," you know? And I'm just like, it I had to drop that, and I could not. It's Friday night. If you don't know what it is,
I,
Google it. But
I don't know who most of those people are, so, you know.
and that's why I love
You're not
police
missing
people.
anything.
You're not missing anything. You're not missing anything, but my point
No.
is, you know, a significant percentage of the society are so like, you know, will be on and scroll and scroll and scroll when some real important stuff is happening about the evolution of humanity. We are right now at some kind of tipping point where something's going to be addressed, and people who whistleblowers have experienced a whole plethora of things from ETs to crafts to reverse engineered technology to craft that have been found that have been very ancient. These people are going to be given a level of protection that they can come forward and say, my experience is X. So that then gives credence and for it to be in the public domain. But I just don't think people are going to go, oh my God.
It's like people
Just
have been
No.
programmed, isn't it? It's like people, I
that's some
think there's
David Icke
basic
stuff, yeah.
understanding of what the correct thing is. And they know what the catchphrases are,
Mhm.
and they know what the correct thing to do is, and they do it. and they don't really think about it. And they just get this kind of little warm glow maybe of knowing that they're right because they're doing the right thing, the safe thing. And people will do that without any real thought. And that's why you'll get like the pileon of the people who question whatever the catchphrase is. Say, but how can you explain that to me? No, we don't explain the catchphrase. We just repeat it, and then we know we're safe. It's like it's that kind of thing, isn't it?
Lucy, did you just use the word pileon?
I did.
I think she did.
I love that.
I do. I think I'm going to go back and listen to the audio of this and take that as a clip. What you've just said was like serious, man.
I've not heard that word for years, since when we were kids and we used to have a pileon.
That's probably where I've picked it up from Andy. It's not one from my childhood. But I like it. I have certain like phrases and words that I just enjoy. They're nice. I use them. So I'll probably keep using them after nobody else does. But anyway, yeah.
Let's pileon.
Pileon?
Yeah. That's it exactly though, isn't it? Someone will question the thing, and it's like, again, the Matrix, going back to that. They turn into Agent Smith and they're all like, get the unbeliever.
It's crazy. I remember being about 13, 14, and my mum was going through one of her usual annual F the system, we're going off grid, we're running away, pack your bags, grab a cat, let's go. And we had, maybe it's a bit younger, we had got off. We were living on some traveller site. No, I was younger, I think. I was younger. We were living on some traveller site. She'd shaved her head. Obviously there was a bit of mental health challenges going on here. And I remember her sitting me down and going, all of this, it's not real. And she always used the phrase, it's a game of chance, McGregor. And I was like, my mother's fucking nuts. Bring my grandparents, come and get me. But actually, her consistent reinforcement of, none of this is really real. Like, you don't need any of this. Like, as long as you've got this, as long as you've got this, like, it's just a game of chance. And that comes from the film The Wicker Man. And it was one of her sayings. But actually, I'm so glad now as a grown-up, as a mum, as a fairly stable-ish person, that it has given me the opportunity to go, oh, really? And I would rather approach things with questions than going, okay, yeah, okay. And I think we're too quick as a society to just go, okay, yeah, it makes absolute sense that none of this makes sense, but okay. And it really does. I just think and it goes back to what I said right at the beginning. There's more people that seem to be going, but why? What is that? And I think we just have to be in a state of questioning. If that's a thing, questioning. Who've we got in the chat? Ash, preach girl, thank you. Hi. We've got quite a few people in chat tonight. It's quite some interesting comments. So, can you recall yourself a deja vu that's really bent your head? Because to me, sometimes it feels dreamlike or a glitch. Has there ever been anything in your life that you can recall that you've gone? I was at a work thing in London, and in my career, I'm very organised and I know what's what, and I'm very competitive. I know exactly what's going on. I'm good like that. And a well-known fashion house that I won't name had booked their Christmas party with the company I worked for, and they paid 60-odd thousand pound deposit. So that was the size of the scale of what we were doing, and they'd booked it all for the say 14th. And the 14th came and no one turned up. All the paperwork, all the event schedules. And I was like, what the hell has happened here? On the next day, that happened to be, there wasn't something booked at Christmas, which is really unusual. they all turned up en masse. The caterers turned up, everything turned up. And I remember being like, and I would have swore my career, which you both know is how important to me, I would have swore my firstborn if I'd had one, I would have my entire year's salary, everything that I had it wrote down in my every meeting that it was the 14th, but they all turned up on the 15th. And I always remember thinking, what the hell happened there? And that has stuck with me all my life. All my life. It's weird the things that stick with you like that. Has anything weird like that ever happened to you girls? Natalie, you deal with, in your career, you deal with people a lot, so you must have come across something.
Yeah, and I think I've touched on the first deja vu type thing that happened to me was when I was at school and I saw someone falling, and then I went into a room and there was one of the caretakers who had climbed up to open a very, very tall window at the top of a classroom, and then the next minute he fell off and landed in a great big pile, just exactly how I'd seen it. And that was the first time it happened to us, maybe 14 or something, and that really freaked me out. But my glitches in the matrix happen on a very regular basis where I'll think of something in my head that's gonna happen and then it will happen. Maybe something little, like something someone will say, or something that'll be on the side, or something innocuous, and then it will be there and then it will happen. And I'm kind of used to it now, and I really don't pay much attention to it. It's kind of like, ghosts and things around me and spirits all the time.
You should pay attention to it. But I think when you have that ability, I think you should pay attention to it more, because in us not paying attention to it, I think it tries to get our attention. Yeah. And we then can't, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Because similarly, I have a knowing. I know when someone's going to get in touch. I kind of know when, a lot of my guy friends will go, I was just thinking about you, or, oh God, I was really down. And and I'm like, yeah, I know. And, we've been at parties sometimes and I've been like 10 sheets to the wind. I'm out with my tarot cards, they all love. And I've come out with something and someone's gone, and I've seen them go, "Ooh." And then like the next day I've gone, I'm a bit weird. I just say funny things. And they've gone, how did you know about that necklace in the box? And I've gone, it was just in my head. And I think that those of us that have that knowing, I think we should, how do we develop it?
I think you just listen to it more.
I think it's like anything though that happens on a regular basis, is you get too ingrained in your day-to-day life of the hustle and bustle, and you just let it go over your head in a way.
It's mad, isn't it? It's like that.
I always think the universe tells you gently, and then it gives you a little bit of a sharper one. And if you keep ignoring it, the one that you have to listen to will be the slap around the head, metaphorically speaking. So I've been really working on trying to listen to the nudge rather than wait for the slap, because it works its way up,
Maybe I should take that philosophy on.
Yeah, because, we always, like I say to the children, if you don't listen when I ask you nicely, you're telling me I have to shout,
Yeah.
I'd love you to be my mum. But you know what? And as my close friends, you will both probably agree. I broke my leg because I needed to slow the fuck down.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%.
Fact.
Yeah. Do you notice there wasn't a pause there before we were both like, yep.
Fact.
Yep.
I don't sleep. I'm awake 20 hours a day. I've got multiple projects. Shout out Nanu. I've got multiple projects on the go. I speak all over the world. I've got a full-time job. I'm a mum. And it all, something had to give. And what gave? And I'd had signs from the universe. Like I had the gentle, come on. A couple of things hadn't gone in my favor.
Invitation.
Yeah. a couple of, you know, important relationships to me I'd cast aside because my mission to be this machine, this achiever, financially secure, successful, and I was like, nope, 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 nope. And a couple of things had been thrown in front of me, big obstacles, and I'd gone, oh, yeah, I'm cracking on. And I really do believe that who breaks the leg stepping out the way of a dog, falling through a flip-flop, and been through the hell
on
that
a
I've
on
been
a
through?
flat surface.
Well, I was on a little incline, but, you know, I've
Took
walked
a lot of
that.
work, didn't it?
It was I remember that the doctor being like, blink if your fella's pushed you. And I was just like, I just moved out the way of a dog. No one believed I caused this much damage from something so innocuous.
It
They were
wasn't your
asking if you'd
average
been in a
break,
traffic
was it?
collision, weren't they?
It wasn't my average break. It wasn't like just as a cast, as some paracetamol and off you go. It was 6 hours in theatre. You know, your life's got to change. You can't go to the toilet by yourself. Your poor friends have to come round and literally wipe your bum and give you injections every day. Like, your life is now done. You are staying in this room and you're not leaving for 3 months. And I fully subscribe to the universe went, you didn't listen. You didn't listen. Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it had to stop me.
Yeah.
Fuck you, universe, I'm back. No, I'm joking. Really joking.
Really slowed me down slightly.
It slowed me down, but it gave me perspective. And we
Time to
wouldn't
take
be doing
stock.
this. But we wouldn't be doing
Yeah.
this. I wouldn't be doing my work in in the UAP and UFO side of things. I wouldn't, you know, I would just be canning Red Bulls, anxious, not eating, massively underweight, no sleep, ADHD taking full control of my full consciousness. I was just this kinetic ball of all the time. And, you know, the universe does come and give you a little, you know, has that
Yeah.
happened to you, Nat?
Oh yeah, many times. But I think sometimes I do stick my head down the rabbit hole a bit and not take notice of it. And as Lucy said, that I probably do need to take a bit more notice of it. Because I'm a bit like you. You're on that fast track work,
Aquarian.
you know, blah 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 blah. And sometimes you don't take stock and listen to what's going on, and then you have a global meltdown, of which I've had many that, you know, well, Holly, you've experienced it, Abs and Ash, you know, have experienced it. It tends to hit me like a great big train, and then I have a meltdown. So I probably need to practice what I preach and listen to those little diddy signs, you know, that are there.
I like that. Listen to those little diddy signs, and
Yeah.
you know, does it dial back to, again, it's all a frequency. I think every one of our shows we end up saying it all boils down to some energetical frequency. And within your shamanistic practices, Lucy, you know, you work with energy so much. As someone who works with energy the way you do, can you, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, so you can tell me to bug off. Can you sense when people's energies are in a spot that they shouldn't be? Can you?
I can sense like misalignment. I can sense, particularly for chakras, I can feel when they're not spinning right. It's like the way I think of it, I have to take my conscious mind out of it, disengage that, and then it's like when I'm doing like a physical massage, I just kind of let my fingers walk and I kind of split my brain off a little bit, and then they find where's wrong. And it's exactly the same sort of energetically. I just kind of feel through, I'm like, okay, something's not right here. Something needs clearing, moving, changing. It is. I do feel it very much so. It's fascinating. I can also feel, and this was really interesting when I learned this, I can feel pain, physical pain in the energy field. And I've been reading this amazing book on medical, a medical intuitive who would diagnose what was wrong with people, like over the phone or like just by sitting in the room with them, like literally just energetically. And she was talking about how every single illness starts energetically. So like a simple example would be something like a problem in your third chakra, which is like the solar plexus. You start to feel that as anxiety. It gradually continues on, and you end up with, say, an ulcer, that kind of thing, because it started energetically and it's ended up with a physical response. And I very much believe that to be true. I think everything starts energetically. And I would include even things like you said there, breaking your leg. There was an energetic root to that, roots to it. And all of the things, there's tons. When you think about illnesses maybe that you've had, or accidents or situations, I know for me as well, I can think, looking back with hindsight, I can see why that happened,
100%. With my leg, and you'll know this, because we're very good friends, and it's something, we've discussed before, I'm sure. Having a very traumatic childhood and a lot of childhood trauma, one of our things when the going got tough and there was, bad things, we would flee, we would run, literally, we would run. So when things get difficult for me or I can't solve it, my natural instinct is to physically run. I can flee very quickly. This is going to sound bananas to people. This is the 41st home I've lived in my life, and I'm only 36. That's how often I felt the need to keep moving. And the fact that my leg was broken that badly, I couldn't run,
No.
couldn't even walk, couldn't hop. I'm dead good at hopping now, but I couldn't run.
You couldn't move.
I couldn't move.
I
Natalie
think
was here with
as
me.
well,
Couldn't move.
if you don't
And
mind me saying as well, I
what?
think that being grounded probably brought up a lot of uncomfortable feelings for you, and
It does.
fears, and things that you weren't able to use your normal method to get away from. And it's
True.
like, so as much as this has been like a huge traumatic, awful thing, it's also been the universe going, we're going to fix that now. I'm going to make you sit with it until you found another way than that. You need a different way.
I'm
And
grateful.
that's kind of how I look at it as well, is the universe isn't trying to be a dick to you. It's trying to, like, it's going, this is a thing you've got to learn, with love and compassion. But if I've got to break your leg to make you learn it, then that's how it's going to go,
Wow.
But you'll learn it.
In the chat, hi Susan. I'm going to bob it on here. It's an interesting one, and I think we might end up doing a show in it. Twin flames. Do you girls kind of ever delved into this? I'm a twin flame, and I once had a weird feeling that something was wrong with my twin. I ignored it, and I started getting sick, to the point I almost had to go to the hospital. Finally, I gave in to the nagging feeling and asked a friend of my twin about him if he was okay. Within an hour, the sickness went away. Susan then goes on to tell us, I later found out that he was having problems and he did need someone to talk to. How connected could the universe
Yeah.
be? Wow.
You just can't explain that.
Can't explain it.
There's loads of stuff. There's like things like being a parent pretty experience this as well. Sometimes you just need to get hold of the child and find out what's going on. And it turns out that actually, they needed you. Or they ring you once they're old enough, just as you're thinking about them. That can be really fascinating, I think, as well.
In this book, Beyond Death, and me and Lucy and I ended up in after inquiry into the anomalous event last week or the week before. I was so like hyped because I'd got to hear some of them, Chris Mellon had spoke, Whitley Schreiber spoke, she spoke. I was like in this place of like UFO magic. I ordered 3 copies of this book because I hadn't been to bed. I was like, so Nat, definitely come and I'll get one your way. But Lucy and I
Okay.
got books. But part of this, it was the runner-up for the 2021 Bigelow Institute for Consciousness Studies. It was, I think, she runner-up in the essay contest. It talks about the phenomenon of when people have died, they get a message through to the living, and it really hit home to me. This, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone listening or watching, and you guys like, seriously, this book will change your perception on so many levels. I remember, and it's, feeding into the whole coincidence thing. When my mum died, she'd always, and I think we might have touched on this before, when my mum passed, we'd always, before she passed, because she was so weird, she'd always said, I'll haunt you, baby. I'll be back. And anyone that knew me mum would know what she was like. And I always knew that, well, I believed that when she went to the other place, wherever that may be, she would make a sign or something to tell me that everything was cool. She was off, doing what she needed to do, and nothing came. And I became real angry. I was angry in grief. Like, I'm a difficult nightmare at the best of times. Add some grief onto that. There was a lot of C word used, and I was a very angry person for a while. And my Chris was being a bit funny, and he'd started having dreams of my mum, and didn't think, 'cause you both know what he's like. He didn't think to tell me that he'd had a reoccurring dream in which he was sat in Birkenhead Park, which is near where I grew up. He was sat on a bench with my mum, hair going, how, I can't remember what it was, and he'd had this reoccurring dream, and he'd spoke to an aunt of mine and said, I keep dreaming about Jeanette. And my auntie was like, oh, tell Holly,
Yeah.
tell her, because we're not going to be responsible for her action soon. She's mad and cross and angry and volatile. And
Chris.
after reading this,
Yeah, poor Chris.
Yeah.
After reading this, it really made me think that all that I think my mum didn't try and contact me directly because I would have just flipped out. She
Yeah.
knew the softer way. There's not many people in this world that can tame me or can do what Chris Pollard can do, what he does. And I believe that my mum came from wherever she is into his consciousness, subconscious, through dream time, because it would have been easier for him to say, your mum's all right, because I would, because if my mum had turned up as a phone call or an apparition, I would have been like, oh my God. And how beautiful is that?
Yeah.
That's lovely. I had, after my dad passed, I've had dreams of him, but the most memorable one for me was I answered the phone, which I don't do that anymore, but in the dream I answered the phone, and it was him. But in the dream I knew, it was almost, I became lucid, I think, and that might have been the first time, because I knew he was dead, even in the dream time. And we had this like little conversation, and it was a real sense, like he got straight into it, because there was this one thing he wanted to tell me, and he had to get straight in, and tell me that. And there was that sense that he was trying to get through to me to tell me that. So yeah, I know what you mean in terms of that and the dream time, and especially with it being a recurring one for him, like, come on, Chris, tell her.
And he didn't.
Bless him.
He didn't.
I know.
I'm trying to.
But again, it's a funny one when you're not, like, because I had, when I was having these dreams, this is like, well, it was 2006, so we're going back away. But I still had, from my own like spiritual explorations, I had some sense of this, of this being something. So it wasn't like I was thrown in the deep end. But I think sometimes if people are not looking for it or familiar with it, it can take a few repetitions before they get what's going on, So
I agree.
Yeah.
And that circles really nicely back to, when these glitches in the matrix are happening, these Mandela effects, these sightings, these experiences. Are they really just the cosmic intelligence, the consciousness, the whatever the more is? Is it just its way of playing with us humans and saying there's more? Because all three of us must surely know that there's more. There's
Yeah.
more than this. There's more than this
Of course.
human experience. And are, things like the Mandela effect, the ghostly apparitions, deceased people making phone calls. In this book, and I will give one little stat, because this is the one that made me go absolutely bananas. Let me just find it. In 1984, the NORC General Social Survey found that amongst Americans who had suffered the death of a spouse, 53% reported experiencing some kind of after-death contact. Results were much more the same in Britain. In Wales, 47% of interviewees reported seeing, hearing, and or feeling their departed spouse, though only a quarter of them ever told anyone about their experience. And a survey of widows in London reported that 46% of them believed they'd had after death contact with their deceased husband. It's not an episode of I Don't Sing. It's crazy. And
I get aromas as well.
Do you?
But yeah,
me too.
And the smell, I get the smell. I can smell her. Not in like a bad way.
Is that your
but I'll
grandma?
smell yeah, my nana, my mum's mum. Yeah, she's always up, but she likes to go and visit Evie. She kind of hangs around, and I'll sometimes just get the little scent. And I'll be like, oh yeah, she's hanging about. Yeah, it's nice.
God, that's probably true for me. Blame the painkillers. Not that I'm drinking wine and on painkillers.
No, do I have to come round and sort you out
again?
Yeah.
No, it's fine. Isn't that beautiful? Wow.
And I think as well, after my dad this was probably one of his first things, and it's a difficult one to prove as well, but I had a pair of earrings which a friend had given me for my wedding. So it's probably about a year afterwards, because I wore them on my wedding. They were this antique pearl and a little diamond like clip. They were beautiful, and I lost one of them. I'd gone to stay at my mum's house. I'd put them on the side that one of them had vanished, didn't know where it'd gone. And then the next time I went up there, it was just on the side. And I went to Mum, oh, you found my earring, thanks. And she was like, no, I didn't. I thought you'd left that there. So she'd been just going in. She had no idea. And this earring, popped back. I was like, well, that'd be Dad, because he would put it somewhere like that. So it's like, I think people don't tell anyone because they kind of feel like everyone will think they're stupid or, imagining things.
Yeah.
It was one of those, there was nobody else living in the house, and it was in like the room that was, nobody else would have gone into it. So it was like, it was a funny one that
ascribes to that, like, it's not coincidence, is it magic? Like, when it becomes unexplainable, we can only explain it with the unexplainable, in a sense, can't we? And that whole thing just, it fascinates me on such another level. Like, Nat, you're really into the paranormal side of things, and I really, now that I'm going to be walking soon, I really want to do a proper paranormal investigation because I haven't been on one in forever. I was speaking to, I did a show with Para Mike yesterday, and I think we should get a good group of us together and we should go somewhere. Oh, Kate, sorry, I love you so much. Thank you so much. I'll drop you a message. Love you, love you, love you. That's literally my best friend as well. She lives in the States. Let's do like a paranormal investigation. Let's fully like do one.
Yeah,
I've never done anything like that.
Have you not? Right, you've definitely got to come. You know what? It's interesting when you do a paranormal investigation because I think because you've got such a beautiful brain in which you can deal with the kind of esoteric side of things, but you've also got logic as well, and it's not scary because you're in investigation mode, if that makes sense. Like, we all know I'm scared of my own shadow. Like, don't even say shadow because I start wanting to run away and I can't run because I've got a cast on. I am very scared of everything. But put me in a dark room with marbles being thrown at my head, I'm like that. Yeah. Wow! Do it again! Do it again! And like, we went on one. I think I said it on a couple of shows ago. Chris was like, "For fuck's sake, shut up!" And I'm like, "Speak to me." So you go into some weird investigative, as in the word. You do, don't you, Nat? You go into this different, like,
whereas you would normally run away from a strange noise, you run to it.
To it.
Yeah.
Tell you what, the ghosts must be really annoyed. They're like,
Oh,
goodness
they get
sake,
annoyed. Oh, some
can
of
I
them
not
get.
get 5 minutes on my own?
Some of them get
But
really annoyed. They do, don't they? Not they get
yeah,
get really pissed off. How dare you feel it? And when you're empathic as well, like we did one, and this young child, Harry Melling, his name had come through medium, believed I was the incarnate of his dead sister, and it had been wrote Harry Melling, and the board kept coming to me, and I said, "Yeah, you just," because I would say this to your kids, "You're just a little star, aren't you?" And me and my stupid mouth said something like that, and then the board started doing stars, and it was just so like, but I could feel I felt his sadness that
hmm
he genuinely believed that I was some relation, but equally 3 or 4 minutes later, the room changed, and there was a real energy of, "Get the fuck out of here now, because bad things are gonna happen," and that's when, like, noises and bangs, and you feel it, but it's just so fascinating. I know we're probably running out of time, but Nat, what is your and, this is not a full show on paranormal, but what has been your most, like, "Whoa!" paranormal event?
um
And when can we take me and Lucy? Yes, yes, yes.
yeah,
Yes.
okay, so there's been a couple. I think I did one at Croxteth Hall, which is a very old building in Liverpool. For those who don't know what Croxteth Hall is, got a lot of history. And I was doing a vigil with 3 other people in the Duke's room, and something that when we talk about that feeling, that gut visceral feeling, something bad was in that room. Something was telling me I needed to go. I wasn't wanted there, and I fought it, and it just got worse. And in the end, I just, it was like 4 o'clock in the morning, freezing cold, pitch black. And I just said, I'm leaving this room. There is something evil in here. And I could sense the evilness of it, and that something was going to happen to me if I stayed there. Something
Make
bad.
themselves known. They make it
Yeah.
known. You really want to come now, Lucy?
Even
from
more. Is that weird?
From
No, it's good.
From another perspective, when I was doing a paranormal investigation with Matt Paranormal, who I've done some work with, and we were using the spirit box, where you have that white noise going through the background and spirit can speak through that. The first question that was asked when we were doing the vigil there was, do you know anybody in this room? And the voice that came through, a female voice, clear as day, Nat. First thing, Nat. Now, unless you knew me, you would, my name is Natalie. Everyone calls me Nat, but only my friends would know that I get called Nat.
Yeah.
But this spirit came through and said Nat. And the other strange thing that happened on that particular visit was, you've probably seen the SLS cameras that they use on a lot of these ghost shows that are on the telly. They show the matchstick shape of a person, so it picks up the shape of a person.
I'm scared.
So the camera was on me and didn't pick me up at all. It was as if I wasn't there.
Are you not real?
And
are you a glitch
Matt
in the
said
Matrix?
this has never ever happened before. So he shone it on someone else and you could see their stick figure. Shone it on another person, you could see their stick figure. Shone it on me. It was as if I wasn't there.
Oh, I don't like this.
So, well, it gets worse. So
don't come round my house ever with your ginness.
This is really weird. What's going on? Why isn't it picking you up? And then in front of me appeared a small figure, and it started waving its arms like this, as if it was saying, we don't want you to be picked up. We're here to protect you. It was really weird how it all worked. It was as if a sense of spirit was surrounding me to protect me in some way. And the camera wasn't able to pick me up, because
Wow.
of this whatever energy field that was around. But actually, eventually we picked up a small figure, and it was as if it was going, no, you can't see it. It was most bizarre.
Right,
I was the only one on that vigil that couldn't be picked up on that camera, and I have no explanation for why I couldn't be picked up.
Right, that's it. Avengers assemble.
Yes.
I think, one, we need to get back out, see H.I.C.E. Two,
Yeah.
I think we need to get out paranormal.
Definitely.
I think we should make that our mission. April, let's do something cool. I'm sure we can find, because the last time I went on a paranormal investigation, it was like in a kind of organized group, and it was a bit too like, nah, 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 nah. I want to go with people that we've got access to, with some great equipment, and I'm up for a night of.
For sure.
Yeah, have you ever done a Ouija board? What's your thought? We probably need to wrap up shortly, but what's your thought? We will do something on it, but we've gone so off topic, it's unbelievable. Have you ever done a Ouija board?
I have done it, but I wouldn't do it again, because I've experienced what can happen when you don't close that portal down. And I think it can be very, very dangerous. And I would advise anybody, certainly people who don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, don't do it in your house, and don't do it unless you've got adequate training and cognitive understanding that when you are
because
you're playing with
you're opening something up, and things can come through that will purport to be one thing, like your grandma or your mum or whoever, but in fact they're not. So,
and they can be trickster. And don't you think it's really interesting that we have a lot of tricksterness within the alien, ET, UFO, UAP phenomenon type world? It's Wendy, oh my god, you really? Wendy is one of our wonderful, wonderful people who we do some CE5 heights.
Hi, Wendy.
She's fab. Never again. Yeah, don't be doing that, you crazy egg. No, don't do that. I've done them. We had one on our wall as a kid growing up, like it was quite normal. I did one when we were about 14, thinking I was Billy Big Bollocks. And it was a bit scary. But I think having the childhood I've had and the being exposed to, the unseen-ness, that I wasn't too like whatever. But when we did a similar one in a castle in North Wales, and it started to spell out my name, and no other people, not another person apart from the person I was with, knew my name, and it started spelling out my name. I was like, we out.
Yeah.
But again, it's energy, isn't it? You're tapping into something. Wendy has just said she's done one, and the door flew open. I'm putting that in the comments. Dun, dun, dun. Wendy, crazy cat.
If we kind of, as we're sort of like wrapping up, it may be, and we freaked everybody out about scary things. Maybe maybe we need to tell everybody what our next topic's going to be, which is a little bit more serene and nice.
Yes, so we are going to touch on the Fae, elementals, and
witches.
Got the third one. Witches.
Yeah.
Witches.
So yes,
but
yeah, on the Fae, elementals, and witches in a little bit more succinctness.
Yeah.
And you know what, guys and gals, beings, athlings, whatever, listening, there's energy out there. There's something going on. We as friends, as females, that's why we set this chat up, because it's nice to explore some of these obscure, bizarre topics. But our next show is going to be But we always go off on tangents anyway. I don't even think we should start bloody naming them. I think we just call it the chats. And anyway, that's fabulous. That's fabulous.
Do me a favour and look up History Today if you haven't seen it.
History Today.
History Today. That's Rob Newman and David Baddiel, and that's them playing two historical professors having like a chat, and they always go right off tangents and start insulting each other. And then at the end they're like, well, we've thoroughly explored that subject.
Ta-da.
Oh, Wendy's put she's got a story about fae or elementals and stuff. So we would encourage any of our regular listeners to bring their tales to the next show on anything elemental.
Absolutely,
for sure.
Absolutely. We'll drop on our social pages and feeds when the next show is. We have moved to a bi-weekly state now, just because that's life and that's showbiz, kid. But yes, so for me, thank you so much for tuning in. What a day I've had. We haven't even talked about how traumatic of my day I've had, by the way. The tangent show, that's what we probably should have called it. The tangent show.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you everyone who has tuned in, both on Facebook, YouTube Live, and to our future listeners. Sorry if we sound nuts, but hey, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Any closing words from you, Lucy?
No, I just had a great time. Thank you, everybody. It's always good fun chatting with you, ladies.
Nat?
No, but I promise to start listening to those little nudges, as Lucy calls them, a bit more. I think that will do me good.
She's so
thank you.
But yeah, subscribe, do all that jazz. You can find me on all platforms, that UAP gal. But yes, the Wyrde Sisters Facebook. Please subscribe, ding ding, like the bell, all of that stuff. Apparently, you've got to say that stuff because it means something. But yes, until next time, ladies and gents and earthly beings, thank you for tuning in. This has been the Wyrde Sisters. Yeah, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Excellent show, ladies.
Yeah, that was good fun.